Hey everybody, Bryce here at Timberline Off-Road. I just threw some clips together that I took while I was doing the Atlas 4-speed install. It's not really a how-to video, it's more of just like some reference you guys can use to see how it looks before I put the transfer case in, and also to see where I made my cuts and how I did the center console and where I modified the floor and stuff. So just quick reference videos. It's not like a how-to or anything. But hopefully this helps you guys when you do your Atlas installs on your Tacoma or your Toyotas. All right, thanks. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Here we have the 4-to-1 Atlas transfer case going into a Tacoma. And I just wanted to film this short little video here because I didn't really find anything on the YouTube yet of a like close-up of how everything's supposed to be oriented. So I just wanted to give this little example of how I have everything situated before it goes in to help you guys sort of put it together, because the instructions are really vague. So hopefully this video helps. So we have the spud shaft here that I had to use a mallet to get it to fit on here. I Loctited these bolts in. I have this plate set at a 40 degrees. Off of 0 here. Transfer case is set at 40 degrees. Here's these little offset, I guess it's a newer style offset blocks. And one goes up and one goes down. And what that does is it allows this bracket to turn and be in the right angle for the floor. And then these are actually not the flanges that are going on for the Toyota. Those are going to get changed out by the owner. Here's the Speedo cable. It's got the electronic signal. And then it's got the manual cable in here to the little plate with the gear on it. And then this lock ring. I had this plate with the gear on it is offset, so I had to rotate it counterclockwise until the gears engaged with the gears on the shaft. And then these little slots here lock into the locking plate. What else? Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. There's this sleeve here. There's a little collar here that clamps down. Make sure you put this plate on first before you put this block. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I had to grind out the corner of this block. You can see the angle. So there was a flange here, and then there was a flange here. I just used a cutoff wheel and I just cut straight like this, and then I cut straight like this, and then just use a flat disc to smooth it out. And that worked. So, alrighty, hopefully this video helps. I'm gonna shoot some video of the, let me just get it real quick. So here's the floor. Had to cut out this cross member here, and then I cut it here, and then I wound up having to cut it a little bit more for the cables to fit right into here. And then I had to, this is a manual trans, so all I had to do was pop in the seal. And then that's it. Alrighty, here's the center console. Here's the shifters with the cables set up. What I wound up having to do was I welded the planetary shifter, the low range, to the side of the front and rear shifters. And then I welded in a little plate there to connect them. And then you can see how much of the floor that I cut out. I wound up tapping or threading the holes that go into the little shift mechanism there. And that way, you'll see in the next clip. Here's the plate that I made to kind of cover up the hole in the floor. And then this is the actual plate here that I made that the shifters bolt into to hold the shift mechanism. in place, and then that bolts to the floor. I put some foam tape around the floor that you saw. That way it seals it all up nice, and everything kind of bolts back into the factory. These are factory threaded holes that were in the floor that I cut around so I could reuse those holes, and then just bolted this plate back in. I made this box out of cardboard first, and then I cut it out of plate and then bent it and then welded it all together. You can see that here that the factory electric heater and everything still gets reused. Everything fits in place nicely. Yeah, I think it turned out pretty nice. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of what I did on this install. But you know what, this might not work for an automatic. So this is a manual. It's a 6-speed second gen Tacoma. So it might not work for an automatic, so but maybe it'll give you some good ideas. Alrighty, here's the center console after I cut out the holes for the shifters. I think it looks pretty clean. I wound up making a little cardboard template to try and figure out where to cut the holes first, so I didn't make a mistake. So I didn't have to buy a second cup holder. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty nice. Alright, hopefully that gives you some good ideas. Okay, here's the bracket that I welded together for the rear support, and make a little stand there to weld it to the Martech cross member. I think it turned out pretty good. And then here's how I routed the cables. The purple one there is the high-low, and it goes around the driver's side. And then the green ones there are the front and rear. They go around the passenger side. And then I used metal P-clamps bolted up to the floor with rivet nuts to hold them in place. Should be pretty solid. And then they go up into where the factory e-brake cables used to come in. I just opened up that hole a little bit and then used some edge guard around there so they wouldn't chafe. And looks pretty solid, should be pretty good. There's plenty of clearance there to keep it away from the exhaust, so I shouldn't have any problems there. All right, here you can see how tight it is against the floor. I had to cut that rail out, a little extra out of that rail, and then I sealed it all up with some seam sealer, so it should be pretty solid. So yeah, it looks pretty good. I think it turned out pretty nice. Should be pretty solid. I was able to use the factory Toyota breather hose and tucked it up in there real nice, you can see there, and turned out pretty nice. So alright, if you like this one, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you on the next one.